Welcome. My name is Brijesh, and today we will be looking at the chapter number 4 of the NCERT, class 7. So, we are covering history. Earlier, we have completed the 6th class NCERT history. If you have not watched those videos, then you can go ahead and watch all the 12 chapters. Before starting the chapter number 4, I would urge you to like and subscribe the channel and also enable the notification so you get all the notification related to video. Okay, let's start chapter number 4, and today we will be talking about the Mughal Empire. So who were the Mughals and how they started ruling the India and what happened to the uh, Delhi Sultanate. So just to provide some context, after Delhi Sultanate declined somewhere around 1526, and the Ibrahim Lodi was the last ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, who was defeated by Babur, who came to the India in 1526. And in the Battle of Panipat, he was got killed. So after the 1526, the dynasty of Mughals got established in India, and all the credit goes to the Babur. It is to be said that this is some type of a story which narrates that there was some dispute between the governor of northwestern part of India in the Lodi dynasty and the sultans of the Delhi, who it was Ibrahim Lodi. So what uh, governor did that colluding with the Rana Sangha of Rajasthan, what they did, they invited Babur. It is just a part of the story, just to provide some context. So Babur came to the India, okay, because as per the Baburnama, Babur also provided some context, but we cannot surely say that this type of things happened or not. He came to the India and attacked, and he defeated the Ibrahim Lodi, and not only defeated but killed also. And hence this dynasty came into the existence. In the later development, we will understand that how after the Babur, the Humayun, and the later Akbar set up the kingdom, which was so vast and so well established, and it was almost having the centralized tendency. So how it got established and how it was developed in the later time in the Indian subcontinent, and what impact it left on the people in the society and on the culture as well. So let us understand. From the later half of the 16th century, they expanded. It is referring to about the Mughals. They expanded their kingdom from the Agra to Delhi until in the 17th century they controlled nearly all of the subcontinent. So it was the reign of Akbar and later on the Jahangir and the Shah Jahan. So in their rule, probably they control all over the subcontinent mostly. So they impose the structures of the administration and the ideas of the governance, and almost outlasted their rule, leaving a political legacy that succeeded the rulers of the subcontinent and which cannot be ignored. So they had such type of arrangement of the governance that this module was also followed. But we have earlier seen that how Sher Shah established the rule, and in that time all the experiment which was performed by the Sher Shah were also copied by the Akbar as well. So in the later development we will see it that how Akbar got impressed by all these innovations and he also introduced, but this is for the complex part, and in the uh, later chapters when we will understand the advanced books, then we will cover these things. Okay. So now it is providing us the basic details about the who were the Mughals. So Mughals were the descendant of the two great lineages, and from their mother side they were the descendant of the Genghis Khan, who died in the 1227. So we have seen little bit glimpse about the Genghis Khan, that how he tried to invade the India, but he did not do at the time of Iltutmish. So from the mother side, the Mughals belong to the Genghis Khan, and from father side, they used to belong from the Timurids. Okay, Timur died in 1404, and Timur also invaded India in 1398. Okay, Timur was the ruler of Iran, Iraq, and the modern day Turkey. Okay, So here is a miniature paintings which have been shown here, and all the dynastical hierarchy of the Timur and all the dynastical details are in this image has been provided. So this was called as the miniature painting. So we will understand that what is the miniature painting and how it developed and who gave the utmost importance to the miniature painting. Okay. So the Mughals, they were not at least proud because of they belong to these ancestors, and Timur also captured the Delhi in the 1309, but they just wanted to did not have any connection with the Genghis Khan, and they never used it. There was a reason because there was a huge massacre by the Genghis Khan, so they did not liked it. So strategically, it was an important move by them that rather than being called the relative of Genghis Khan, what they did, they use the name of Mughals, okay, rather than using the name of these two dynasties. So it was a politically good move, okay. So understand that why they were called as the Mughals, and what was their lineage and how they came into the existence. All these things matter little bit, but not much. Just to provide the context and just to understand the history, it is important. So Mughal military campaigns. So it is this particular paragraph is important. So pay utmost attention on this paragraph. The Babur, the first Mughal emperor. So here now it is talking about the Babur, first Mughal emperor, 1526 to 1530. In 1526 he came to the India, and till 1530 he was in India. So his most of the life, all these 4 years, he was continuously fighting, right, and succeeded to the throne in the Fargana in 1494, where he was only 12-year old. He was forced to leave his ancestral throne due to the invasion of the Mongol groups. So the Mongols and the Uzbeks, they attacked it. So they had Babur had to leave from his ancestral place, okay, and he moved to the India as well. After years of wandering, he seized the Kabul. So he seized the Kabul in 1504, and 1526 he defeated the Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi. So which we have already understood the context and the way of a story as well, at the Panipat, and captured the Delhi and Agra. Okay, so the Afghans were an imminent threat to the Mughal authority. So Afghans were always the threat to the Mughal dynasty. So earlier we have seen that in the Sultanate time, it was the Mongols who were the threat for the Delhi Sultanate. But later on, when the Mughals came into the power, so it became the Afghans who were the imminent threat for Mughals. Okay, so these things are not important. So we are leaving all those paragraphs which are not important for us. We will simply focus on these important paragraphs which can be asked in the examination and which becomes important for examination purpose. Okay. So here a picture has been shown, another miniature painting. So it is talking about the figure 4. The cannons were an important addition in 16th century warfare. Babur used them efficiently in the first battle of Panipat. So try to understand this, that he efficiently used it, but he was not the first person to he used it. There is a difference when first time used and first time efficiently used. Okay, so always understand this difference, that he was not the first person. And similar is the case with the gunpowder. Gunpowder technology was brought to India for the warfare in the 14th century. So now it is talking about 14th century. So we can understand somewhere around from 300 and 1301 to 1399. Between at that time, it might have introduced, because when we will move into the medieval time, we will move on to the complex books and the advanced books. Then we will understand that how Bahmani kingdom is fighting with the Vijayanagar kingdom, and where they are using these artilleries. Okay, so firearms were used for the first time in the region such as Gujarat, Malwa, Deccan, and was used by the Babur in early 16th century. So the credit of Babur is just that he used all these things efficiently. He was not the inventor or not used the first time, but he used it efficiently. Okay, let us move ahead. So now this particular table becomes important because it provides that dynastical importance on all these fights, and little bit idea about the rule of the different rulers. So initially it is talking about the Babur, though I have already underlined. Okay, so in 1526, Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat, and in 1527 defeated Rana Sanga at Khanwa, and 1528 defeated the Rajputs at Chanderi and Medni Rai. Okay, and also there was fight in 1529 as well, and by the 1530 Babur was dead. And after that, the person came on the throne was Humayun, and he ruled from 1530 to 1540. And then there's a brief gap, so we will understand that why there's a brief gap of 15 years. And 1555 to 1556, there he ruled only for 1 year after coming to the Delhi, and after that he also died in an accident. So Humayun devised his inheritance according to the will of his father. So because the Mughal, it was the basic practice in the Mughals that they did not follow the primogeniture method. Rather than, what happens in the primogeniture, that whenever there is a king, he used to provide his kingdom to the eldest son. But a person, when he is not using the primogeniture type of method, then what they used to do is, these Mughals or earlier Sultanate as well, they used to divide it amongst their son. Okay, so Humayun divided his inheritance according to the will of his father. His brothers were each given a province. The ambitions of his brother Mirza Kamran weakened Humayun's cause against the Afghan competitor. So this person, he was the brother of Humayun, Mirza Kamran. Whenever he weakened the Humayun's cause against the Afghan competitors. So we have already seen that how Afghan was posing an imminent threat to the Mughal dynasty. And Sher Khan defeated the Humayun at the Battle of Chausa in 1539 and at the Kannauj in 1540. And because of these two defeat, he had to flee to the Iran. Okay, in Iran, what happens? In Iran, Humayun received the help from the Safavid Shah. Remember these important fact, these two battles of the Chausa, in which he was defeated by Sher Khan, Sher Shah Suri, okay, who later on also established the Sur dynasty. So Battle of Chausa happened in 1539 and Battle of Kannauj happened in 1540. In Iran, he got the help from the Safavid Shah, and he recaptured the Delhi in 1555 but died in the next year after an accident in his building. So till after 1540 to 1555, what happened, that Sher Shah Suri established his rule over the India. In this he controlled the Delhi, and all these regions were controlled by Sher Shah Suri. So we later, when we will understanding about the Sur dynasty, then we will understand about the innovations and his rule as well. Okay, now it is talking about the how Akbar came to the throne and how his rule has been divided into three parts from 1556 to 1570 and 70 to 85, then 85 to 1605. So we can sum up that Akbar ruled from 1556 to 1605. Okay, so Akbar was a very young kid of 13 years when he became the emperor. So he was ruling in the region of Behram Khan. Okay, so Akbar became the independent of the region Behram Khan and the other members of his domestic staff. Since he was just a kid, so he might not be able to rule, and he might need to have some guidance from the person who was trusted by his father Humayun. So it was Behram Khan who was working as a regent for him. Okay, so what happens that in this particular time of once he came on the throne, he gets the independence, and just like the Behram Khan and the other members were freed from his services. Okay, so the military campaigns were launched against the Suris and the Afghans and the neighboring kingdoms of the Malwa, Gondwana, and suppressed the revolt of his half brother Mirza Hakim. So he was continuously fighting with the Mirza Hakim and the all other the neighborly kingdoms and also the Uzbeks. In 1568, the Sisodia capital of Chittor was seized, and in 1569, Ranthambore was seized. So these two particular dates I have already underlined. 1568 and 1569. In 1568, Sisodia capital of Chittor was seized, whereas in 69, Ranthambore was seized. Okay. Then in the other 15 years, what happened? From 1570 to 85, military campaigns were launched in Gujarat and followed the campaign in the east in Bihar. So we will see that how after the winning in the Gujarat, in the commemoration of this particular win, we will see that how Buland Darwaza and this particular city completely established. Okay, so we will look into that as well. So it is a part of the art and architecture as well. Then he also subdued the revolt of which happened in 79 and 80 of in the support of Mirza Hakim. There was revolt. And what happened in the 1585 to the last years of the Akbar? Expansion of Akbar's empire, campaigns were launched in the different parts. So it was the basic nature of that time that whenever a prominent king is there or the ruling power is there, and whenever they are stronger, they always try to expand it. So Kandahar was seized from the Safavids. Okay, so let me underline it. So Kandahar was seized from Safavid, and Kashmir was annexed. Okay, Kashmir was also got annexed. Also Kabul after the death of Mirza Hakim, who was creating problem for Akbar. Okay, and the campaigns in the Deccan started, and Berar, Khandesh, and the part of the Ahmednagar were annexed in this particular year. Okay. In the last years of his reign, Akbar was distracted by the rebellion of Prince Salim, and he got the name of the Jahangir. Okay. So later on, he also became the Emperor of India. So Jahangir's reign started from right after 1605 to 27. The Sisodia ruler of Mewar, Amar Singh, accepted the Mughal services. So he also provided the complete respect to the Amar Singh when Amar Singh approached to the court of Jahangir. So these are the part of the stories that how the Mewar always remained such a powerful state and always created problem for these Mughals. So Prince Khurram and the future Emperor Shah Jahan rebelled in the last years of his reign. So same characteristics developed which he created in the reign of Akbar. So the similar tactics were applied by his son as well. So Noor Jahan, Jahangir's wife, also tried to marginalize these efforts, but she was unsuccessful. Shah Jahan ruled from 1627 to 58. The Afghan noble Khan Jahan Lodi rebelled and was defeated. So this was the prominent win of Shah Jahan. In the northwest campaign of to seize the Balkh and from the Uzbek was unsuccessful. So now the basic tendency is going to reveal that how the Mughals started to lose the power. So these characteristics started to develop here. So when they tried to control the Balkan from the Uzbeks, they were unsuccessful. Kandahar was also lost to Safavids. In 1632, Ahmednagar was finally annexed and the Bijapur force sued for the peace. Okay. So there were the conflicts in 57 to 58 over the succession among the Shah Jahan's sons. Aurangzeb was victorious and his three brothers, including Dara Shikoh, were killed, and Shah Jahan was imprisoned for the rest of his life in the Agra. So when Aurangzeb came in the existence or in the power, so he had captured his father, okay, and he remained till the death in the Agra. Aurangzeb, now it is talking about the Aurangzeb. He ruled from 1658 to 1707. So we will look on these parts that how the important thing which matters to us. In the northeast, the Ahoms were defeated in 1663 but rebelled against in 1680, and the campaigns once again launched in the northwest against Yusufzais and Sikhs. So all these things were happening, that how these different uh, rebels or the rebellions were trying to revolt, and how he was crushing. In this particular time as well, Shivaji, the prominent person of the Indian history, what he did, that he created a huge trouble for the Aurangzeb. So we will look also in all these efforts which he made. Okay. So in this chapter, in the another part of the para number 2, after Akbar's rebellion, Aurangzeb sent armies against the Deccan Sultans. Bijapur was annexed in 1685 and the Golconda in 1687. So this craziness of Aurangzeb to conquer the Deccan was also came to be known as the Deccan Ulcer. Okay, so what he tried to do, he always wanted to annex these portion of the Deccan. So this was called as the Deccan Ulcer. So remember this. So he also had the revolts continuously used to happen in, like, the Sikhs were there, the Jats were there, Satnamis were there. They were revolting against the in the reign of Aurangzeb. So it was not peaceful, though there were several revolts, and the Shivaji was also creating a lot of problem for him. So we will see these things as well, that how Shivaji succeeded, and he created a great rule of Marathas. So we will look at that as well. So let us understand. So all these the military campaigns under the Akbar and the Aurangzeb has been shown here, okay, and the prominent cities of that time. So just to understand the cities, you can look at the map, that what was there, where was the Kandahar and Kabul and Sindh and all other the prominent city of that time. Let us move ahead. The traditions of succession. So we have already seen that, but though, just to make more context, let us read it. The Mughals did not believe in the rule of primogeniture, where the eldest son inherited his father's estate. Instead, they followed the Mughal and the Timurid custom of the copper chandri inheritance, or the division of the inheritance among all the sons. Okay. Mughal relation with the other rulers. So how was their relations with the other rulers? So we understand that they had the prominent relation with the Rajputs, okay, which were quite powerful dynasties. They were the smaller principalities or the big principalities of the Rajputs, and but they were very powerful. So the Mughals already understood it, and they always had a peaceful relation with the. They always try to have the peaceful relation with the Rajputs. So Mughal rulers campaigned constantly against the ruler who refused to accept their authority. Many other rulers joined them voluntarily, the Rajputs. Many of them married their daughters into Mughal families and received the high positions. But many resisted as well. Okay, so we have already seen that the Mewar later in the later parts, though they accepted the service, but when the Maharana Pratap was there, he completely resisted it. The Sisodia Rajput of Mewar refused to accept the Mughal authority for a long. Once defeated, however, they were the honorably treated by the Mughals and their lands. So two terms will be introduced, such as Vatan and Vatan Jagir. So what is the difference? Pay the attention. Their lands means Vatan. Whatever the lands used to belong to the king was called as the Vatan. And when it was assigned to them after accepting the service of Mughals, when Mughals used to assign their own land to these kings, then it used to called as the Vatan Jagir. So always keep this difference in their mind, that what is Vatan Jagir and what is Vatan. Okay. Mansab, what is Mansabdar and what is Jagirdar? Let us understand this as well. So there were the different factions in the Mughal period. There were Toranis, Iranis, Indian Muslims were there, Afghanis were there, Rajputs, Marathas, and the other groups, other prominent groups were there as well. So those who joined the Mughal services were enrolled as the Mansabdars. So what was the role of Mansabdar? Let us understand as well. And then we will also understand about the Jat and what is the Jat ranking. The term Mansabdar, and remember this question have been multiple asked in the different examination. So this particular paragraph becomes important. So pay the utmost attention on this paragraph. The term Mansabdar refers to an individual who holds a Mansab. What is the meaning of Mansab? A position or a rank. It was grading system used by the Mughals to fix three things used to fix using this Mansab. rank, salary, and military responsibility. Once again, I am repeating who was the Mansabdar, who was given a position to hold the Mansab. And what was the meaning of Mansab? It was a position or a rank which we see today in the military or in the army. There is a rank. If there is a rank, then person must be salaried. If person must be salaried and he has the rank, then he must be having some military responsibility. So these things or these three traits were also there. So these were the similarities. Understand? So it will help you out whenever, if you, in case if you forget that what was it, you can relate to it any position of the government where there's the military services. Okay, that there was a rank, there is a salary, and there is a military responsibility. These three things. And what was the mansab? Mansab was a position. So rank and salary were determined by the numericals value called as Zat. So let us understand about the Zat ranking as well. The noble with a Zat of 5000 were rank at the higher than those of 1000. So we can understand there was a numerical difference. The if a person is having the more Zat, it means that his rank is higher. Okay, this is the simply applies to the Zat. Okay, the higher the Zat, the most prestigious was the noble position in the court, and the largest is salary. This is the clear-cut relation of these all these three terms like Mansabdar, Bansab, Zat, and their ranks. Okay, so Mansabdar's military responsibility required him to maintain a specific numbers of Sawar or cavalrymen. Why? We have already understand in Sultan, in Delhi Sultanate, this Iktas were there and the Muktis were there. Those Muktis used not only used to have the used to collect the revenue, but they also have the responsibility of taking care of the military as well. So here the Mughals innovated this different thing, and they innovated the Mansabdari system. Okay, so to maintain the military, and there was a person called Mansab. Okay, so understand this. So he had the responsibility of to carry the Savars or the cavalrymen. The Mansabdar received their salary as the revenue assignment called the Jagirs, which were somewhat like the Ikta. So we were just referring it that particular system. But unlike Muktis, most Mansabdars did not actually reside in administers their Jagir. They only had rights to revenue of their assignment, which was collected for them by their servicemen, thereby servants. Okay, while the Mansabdars themselves served in the other part of the country. So this was the basic difference between the Ikta and the Mansabdars. In Ikta, Muktis used to reside in this particular Ikta, whereas where a Mansabdar did not reside in that particular Jagir, or okay, rather he used to serve in the different part, but on the behalf of that particular person, his servant used to collect the taxes or the other responsibilities they used to perform. Got it? Let us move ahead. Jabt and Jamidars. The main source of the income available to Mughal rulers was tax on the produce of the peasantry. So we have understood from the time immemorial this particular practice of having the taxing the peasants and innovating the different type of innovation to improve the uh, production of the farmers. They always focused it. Why? Because they used to tax the produce of the peasantry. Okay, so it used to provide them the money to maintain the estate or the empire. The Mughals used the term Jamidars to describe all the intermediates. So here, what is the meaning of Jamidars? Understand it. It used to describe all the intermediaries, whether they were local headmen or the village or the powerful chieftains. They were the Jamidar, but they were the intermediary. Akbar's revenue minister Todarmal. So here we will be talking about the Dahshala system of Todarmal. So this is important because the straightforward questions once again can be asked in the pre. Akbar's revenue minister, who was revenue minister Todarmal, carried out careful survey of the crops yield, precise and areas cultivated for these prices precisely calculated for 10 years 1570 to 1580. On the basis of this the data, the tax was fixed for each crop in cash. So understand there is a difference now. The like the Alauddin Khalji, he also taxed in the cash. Now Akbar also taxing it in cash. Okay, So the cash becomes important because cash can be directly supplied to the people who are working or who are taking care of the other functionaries. Okay, so each provinces were divided into revenue circles with its own schedule of revenue rates of individual crops. This revenue system was known as zapt. So what is zapt? Zapt is like the provinces was divided into revenue circles. So if we can consider any part, for an example, if here is a part, okay, it was divided into different provinces, or in these provinces were divided into different circles, and they all had their different schedules, probably January, Feb, according to their months or according to their convenience or according to the data and the analysis, they fix the schedule, and the revenue rates for the individual crops are different. They fixed it, so we can consider, we can understand from this. Okay, so they divided the province in such a manner. So this particular system used to called as zapt. Right? So now it is talking about the Akbari and the Akbarnama, a very prominent book of the Abul Fazl. That why it has the importance, and several things of the Akbar's reign have been provided in Akbari. So let us understand. Akbar ordered the Abul Fazl to write the history of his reign. Abul Fazl wrote the 3 volumes of history Akbar's reign, titled Akbarnama. The first volume dealt with the Akbar's ancestors, and the second volume recorded the events of Akbar's reign. So these two were not that important, but the third volume was really important. The third volume in the Akbari, it dealt with the Akbar's administration, household army, revenues, and the geography of his empire, the culture, and the people who were living in the India. Okay, so and Akbari is rich statistical details about the things, deliveries, and the diversity of the crops, the yields, prices, wages, and revenue. So all these details which we have today, these have been mentioned in the Akbari, and the prominent historian must have written in that time. But the Akbari has the acquired importance, which have provided the different details. So here we can see a miniature painting where the Abul Fazl, who was given the task of writing this book, he was receiving Akbar receiving the Akbarnama from Abul Fazl. It has been depicted here, this particular miniature painting. So Akbar's policy. Abul Fazl explained that the empire was divided into provinces called as subhas and the governed by subedars. So remember, these provinces divided in subhas, and subhas was governed by subedars, carried out both political, military, and functions. So each provinces had a financial officers as well. So he used to be called as Diwan. So who was Diwan? Diwan was the financial officer, whereas the Subedar was carried out the political and the military functions. So remember this. So which was the part of the which functions were handled by the Subedar and which functions handled by the Diwans. The Subedar was supported by the other officers such as the military paymaster. So remember these terms become important, and question can be asked from these terms as well. The paymaster, the bakshis, the minister in the charge of the religious charitable patronage used to call as sadr, the military commander, the fauzdar, and the town police used to called as the town police commander called as kotwal. So 4 terms: bakshis, military paymaster, sadr, charitable patronage or the religious matters related, military commanders, fauzdar, and the town police commander was Kotwal. Remember this. Okay. While the Akbar was at the Fatehpur Sikri, during the 1517, he started discussion on the religious personalities with the ulemas, Brahmins, Jesuits, priests who were Roman Catholics. So we will see when we will move on to the advanced books, then how Akbar used to invite the Jesuit priests, and they used to have the discussions. Okay, so these discussions took place in the Ibadat Khana. So what was the place where all these discussions used to happen? Ibadat Khana. Remember this. Okay. So again, all these discussion where it was happening. So another miniature painting has been depicting here. So Akbar, the idea of Sulh-e-Kul or universal peace. So what is the Sulh-e-Kul? Universal peace. After having the discussion, after having all these multiple discussion with the different ideologies, Akbar came on an idea and he proposed the Sulh-e-Kul, which meaning was the universal peace. It focused on the system of ethics. So if a question has been given that what is a Sulh-e-Kul and on what type of characteristics it was built, so it was focused on the system of ethics, honesty, justice, peace, and that was universally applicable. Abul Fazl helped the Akbar in the framing the vision of the governance around the Sulh-e-Kul. The prince of the and the governors was followed by the Jahangir and Shahjahan as well. So these two princes were also followed the idea of Sulh-e-Kul. So here these things becomes really important because this time in the UPSC straightforward question was asked from this particular paragraph. Hence the NCERT becomes important and pay the utmost importance to the NCERT because almost 4 to 5 questions directly have been asked from the NCERT. Okay, so it makes a big difference when it comes to the 10 or 8 numbers. It makes a huge difference in the clearing the prelims or not clearing the prelims. So Akbar commissioned the translation of many Sanskrit works into the Persian. A Makhtab Khana or the translation bureau was also established. So what it used to called as Makhtab Khana. Okay, translation bureau was also established at Fatehpur Sikri. What was the place? Fatehpur Sikri. The Mahabharat, Ramayana, Leelavati, and the Yog Vasishtha were some of the notable Sanskrit works that were taken up for the translation. And the Rajmnama, which was the Persian translation of Mahabharata. So remember these terms because the question was that in whose reign the Yog Vasishtha was translated. So it was the reign of Akbar. And if the question asks that what is the Rajmnama, then it is the Persian translation of Mahabharata. Contains the lavish illustration of the events of Mahabharata. Okay, so remember this, it is important. Now it is talking about the Sulh-e-Kul. So since we have already seen it, that what is the policy of Sulh-e-Kul and how Abul Fazl also helped the Akbar in framing the ideas. Okay, so let us move ahead. How was the Mughal Empire in the 17th century after it? So Mughal emperors and the Mansabdars spent a great deal of their income on the salaries and the goods, as is the characteristic whenever any rule reaches to its zenith after a certain time of period when the weaker ruler or the ruler who do not take care or they make the expansion unnecessarily expansion on the different things, it always intends to the decline of that particular dynasty. So we will see the this type characteristics in this particular paragraph. Mughal emperor and their mansabdar spent a great deal of their income on salaries and goods. Scale of revenue collection left very little for the investment because if the investment or the collection is not there, then they would not be able to maintain the army or they would not be able to follow the other functions as well. Okay, so primary producers such as the peasant and the artisans, the poorest among them lived from hand to mouth, means they were very poor. Hand to mouth means they were very poor and they could hardly consider investing in additional resources, tool and supplies to increase the productivity. So they were not able to invest in the tool and the supplies so that they can increase their revenue or their farm produce. They were not able to do that. The wealthier peasantry and the artisans group and the merchants and the banker profited in this economy of the world. So understand the other people were making profits, but the person who is the primary producer, he was not able to invest on his things so that he would be able to increase the production, but he was very poor. As the authority of the Mughal emperor slowly declined, his servant emerged as the powerful center of the powers in the region, and the new dynasties came into the prominence such as the Hyderabad, Awadh. So we will see that all these, Bengal also got the independent in the later phase. So we will see that how these dynasties declined when we will cover the modern India. Okay, so this chapter is of quite importance for us since we have seen the different terms and the rule of the Mughals, how they emerged and who all in the Mughal dynasty ruled. Okay, and the important questions directly have been picked and asked in the different examinations. So always try to note down all these important terms and revise them. Okay, and I will see you in the next chapter. Till then, if you have not subscribed, then subscribe the channel and also enable the notification. Also share these free initiatives with your friends and the fellow aspirants. See you. Bye.